Kim, you're watching Kim Wilson TV. My channel is dedicated to helping victims of narcissistic abuse get free and stay free. Before I get going with this video, I just want to take a moment to thank our friend Sharon very much for your donation to our channel's PayPal account. Your donations keep the channel going and keep the channel growing. Thank you so much. Times I have said that it is going to be very, very hard to heal if you do not know what you're healing from. Now, the focus of that statement has always been the narc, the abuse inflicted by the narc. And of course, for each and every one of us, we can put a name to that abuser. I'm going to ask that question again in this video, but we're going to redirect the attention to us. Not so much as who did it, but the fallout on us and what it is that we are actually healing from. And I want to talk about that today. Something that we've never discussed, in fact, I've never heard discussed, is the double-edged sword when we lose our partner. Now, it's hard for me to even say that without kind of grinning because I'm so happy I lost my abusive partner. But for many of you, I know that's not how you're feeling, and it certainly wasn't how I was feeling initially. Now, the focus had always been on the fact that my partner, the person who I believed loved me and I believed I loved them, in fact, believed this little toad was my soulmate. Okay, that has been the focus, but there is something else that really can manifest as a loss in our lives, something that should be grieved, something that maybe we should bring a bit of attention to, because I know for many people, even if it's unspoken, the sense of loss is there. And that is the loss of being part of a couple. For many people, uncoupling means you no longer get together with the other couples that you know. You no longer attend those camping trips. You don't have those dinner parties, or you don't get invited out as a couple. And for many of us, well, for many people just in general, and this happens to a lot of people whose partner dies, and I certainly experienced this many years ago when my partner died. Now, we had tons of couples that we hung out with, and, you know, we were a big group of couples. We used to go out on the boat. We used to go camping on the weekends. We used to have barbecues at our house, and we got invited to dinner parties by other couples. And when I was uncoupled as a result of that death, well, I was no longer on the list of invited guests at the dinner parties and things. And I do kind of get it, like I get it, but that loss of coupling can be a really hard hit for a lot of people, can really induce a lot of grief. People, the coupling aspect of your social life, once lost, can be really, really painful because it can, in so many ways, completely change the dimensions of your life, change your social life, change the way you interact with people in groups or clubs. I mean, all of it. I spoke to a woman recently who has just left her narc, but, you know, she kind of expressed this pattern forming as a result. You know, her partner played on a community sports team. She attended the sports events on the weekends. She had a group of women that she always sat with and talked with, and then made, you know, years of friendships formed, all gone. So losing that couple status can change so much for so many people. And this really is a big loss. And I think when you're focusing so much on the fact that your partner's gone, there are other elements, other aspects of suffering, emotional and psychological pain that, if not explored, if not resolved, will end up being lingering wounds that never get a chance to heal. And of course, in the case of narcissistic abuse, there's this huge looming loss around the partner because we've been so horribly deceived into believing this was our soulmate and believing we were the source of the problem. So much of the other loss can easily be overlooked. So I truly do believe, as part of a healing path, you've really got to assess what it is, that you're suffering from so you can heal from it. Now, in addition to that, of course, Trevor had kids, and I was extremely fond of those little girls, and they were extremely fond of me. There's another loss. I was, very fond of Trevor's mother and father, and his father had died, and I would have liked to have been, a good daughter-in-law to his mother and been supportive of her during that, loss in her life. And of course, all of those people were stripped out of my life. So again, more loss, more emotional pain, more grieving that really needs to occur in a healthy way so we can heal wholly and completely without, leaving just a series of open wounds all over ourselves. People that are coupled, you do, I would assume, have a sense of future, concept that you'll grow old with someone, that you won't be alone, that you'll be caring for someone that you love, and someone that loves you will be caring for you. And for many people, that promise of a nurturing and loving, retirement is gone. And for so many people, in addition to that being gone, your money's gone, and the financial security that you and your partner, would have added to each other's lives. So it can really induce a tremendous amount of fear and uncertainty around retirement or senior years. Especially if you think, you got this thing all mapped out, you know which direction your life's moving in. I mean, this is a pretty serious curveball, and so many aspects of our lives, well, they do feel like they've been destroyed. I say feel like being destroyed because, well, our lives are not really destroyed, but overwhelmingly, unanimously, we all feel this incredible sense of loss. Like we will never be the same, like our lives will never be restored. And this type of narrative, especially when self-induced, can really have a profound impact. I mean, for many of us, we are actually grieving the loss of our lives, of who we used to be. And this too needs to really be taken into consideration when healing. Now, at this point, I want to say, these narratives in themselves are so incredibly detrimental to healing. I mean, how the hell are you going to heal when you're sitting there wallowing in, I'm never going to be the same, my life is ruined, I just want to kill myself, there's no future for me. So many of us have impacted our own lives with that type of narrative, and don't think I didn't do it, because I did, and I've said many times I did. And that was really during my in and out, back and forth, revolving door period with Trevor. There were many times when I really hadn't closed the door. It just went away to cry and sob, and then I'd get hoovered back, and I'd go back kind of gleefully, except at the end I went back quite reluctantly. But during that in and out period, that was really happening for me. That last time I left, when I knew I was leaving, I was done, I was out of there, I did get to walk away with a lot less of that. I had to some degree accepted the fact that I would never see those little girls again. But I really hadn't considered how much that would hurt me. I mean, for years, I spent every weekend with them, and Trevor would be drunk on the couch, so it was me that was interacting with them. They would garden with me, we had all kinds of art projects going on, we would cook together, we would bake things together. It was really a lot of fun for me and fun for them, and I did so enjoy seeing them. And though I accepted the fact that I wasn't going to see them again, I really had to consider it a loss, and I really had to grieve that. Because the reality is, I'm never going to see them again. So many people end up losing dearly loved pets to the narcissists. I've heard this over and over again. And, I've been doing a little bit of research on grief gauges. The loss or death of a pet can be absolutely, profoundly, overwhelmingly devastating for people. Absolutely heartbreaking. And this too is a loss you have to consider. So the huge number of things that we're forced to now deal with, well, I'll be honest, I couldn't see them initially because it was just such a blur of madness and insanity and confusion, and my ears were ringing, my head was spinning, and my vision was blurred, and I really wasn't able to see it in compartments. And I think as part of my healing process, certainly one of the things that really helped me was to break it down. And I've talked about this before, how, I've tried to make a list of everything I felt like I had lost, and I was able to put them in their own sort of unique category, something I could kind of isolate and focus on, because, there was just so much of it. It was so overwhelming. And, everything just seemed like it was flying around. It was really hard to grab onto one thing and look at it, a little more closely. So I do believe as the first step for me in really starting to pick up some momentum and some stride in my healing process was breaking it down, looking at these things one by one, and stopping all the chaos and the confusion that was absolutely overwhelming me. My list with the big stuff, the big, huge, glaring stuff, that stuff that I thought was going to kill me, and I worked my way down to the smallest of things, and then I started to do my assessment of these losses in reverse. Started with the biggest stuff down to tiny little things, and then worked my way up, because I started to build momentum as I was dealing with the small stuff. I want to encourage you to try this because the list really helped me, and of course I started with the big stuff. The infidelity, the lies, the deception. There was definitely physical abuse. There is that looming, horrendous feeling of being sexually assaulted, that feeling of rape by deceit. And these were not really things that I was ready to tackle right away. But working my way down from the biggest stuff to the smallest stuff gave me a chance to deal with small stuff first. Now, I'm going to make a bit of a comparison, because I think when we get out of narcissistic abuse, I'm just going to say it's like we fell through a plate glass window. We've got huge wounds, and we've got a million tiny nicks all over us. Learning how to treat those tiny nicks better set me up to start healing those bigger wounds, and it's been incredibly beneficial for me. So I really hope you give it a try. I've got lots going on right now as far as research into healing goes. Now, the reason I continue to research these topics is because I certainly have my own personal experience. I have the steps that I took, but I do try to figure out if this system that I've been using has ever worked for other people. Is it a real thing? Can it work for you? And certainly isolating issues is highly recommended by healthcare professionals when it comes to healing from abuse versus tackling the big issues today. Cut yourself some slack. They've got those sayings like, get out of your comfort zone. We're not trying to conquer the world today. We're not trying to, manifest greatness in our lives. For many of us, all we're trying to do is get to the next day. And if being in a comfort zone helps you, it just might be that security blanket you need to wrap yourself in. And I actually was on my couch wrapped in my favorite blanket when I was making that list. So don't be hard on yourself. Love yourself lots today. We're all going to get through this. And I really do feel like, I've been working blind because I really didn't have this experience, beyond my relationship with Trevor. So everything, of course, has been very new. We've explored all of this together. We've shared our stories with each other. So much of my healing has come from self-exploration, from reading and listening to your stories, whether we were writing to each other or talking on Skype. And that, combined with research, has given me a pretty clear picture of the direction that I need to continue in, and I really do believe this direction is working great for me. So I just want to invite you guys on this journey. Anyways, give this a try, and I'd love to hear your comments, and let me know if you think this could work for you or if you've done anything similar that's been beneficial. I'm Kim. You're watching Kim Wilson TV. I love you guys lots.